Welcome to the Mo2 Brothers Podcast.
I'm Ken Motew.
And I'm Michael Motew.
And we're the Mo2 Brothers. Welcome to
episode number one
of, we kind of like bricks and sticks.
Bricks and Sticks is sort of catchy. It sort of captures a lot of what we do here. A lot of what we talk about for sure. We didn't tell anyone we were doing this. And honestly, we didn't really know what we were getting into until we walked in the office one day and we saw like a professional setup of cameras and lights and microphones. And John Carlo produced it, edited it, and then threw it on like an Instagram or some social media. And we got a massive response. And I will say, most people who responded were really impressed with the production quality.
Yes.
And that was really cool. They were like, I think we get a lot of people who know us outside of our business, just friends and family and people we know from whatever else we do in our lives. Everyone's always surprised when either like they come meet us in our office and they're like, "Oh, you guys have an office?"
Have a real office.
They're like, "It's actually nice," and they can't believe it's like furnished. Everyone's always shocked, and I think we had that same kind of response from the podcast. It was like, "Oh my God, like what? That's amazing." We also got a response that people just loved it. They thought it was
they're very excited.
They were very excited. We're coming into the rental season, or we're in it really, and so I think what we're seeing now. I mean, I want to try to start like being a little positive because we could get dark and negative.
Oh, we're
really
going to get
fast.
dark and negative really quick.
So, but I will say rentals are going really well.
Yes.
For the most part, we don't have any vacancies.
Well.
Okay.
We don't have any vacancies in existing buildings that aren't new.
Yeah.
That is correct. Existing buildings that have been in service for more than a year are 100% rent.
I mean, we are typically have no vacancies, so we're 99% occupied almost all the time.
Right.
And so it's not. I mean, we don't have our portfolio is very
north side.
It's a north side portfolio. It's sort of a mid-sized portfolio, maybe 800 so units, and so. I mean, we stay rented. I mean, our renewal rate.
Why don't you say your favorite line about 800 units?
Well, first of all, I stole this line from someone, and it's like I always think you have 800 units, you're gonna find 800 renters in the city of Chicago.
Our existing units, when we go to re-rent them, we're getting between a 7 and 10% increase.
Also, our renewals were on fire for a while.
Yeah,
until we hit July. I think. Yeah,
but we still haven't heard from everybody yet.
We do have a question from Instagram. Why should someone rent from Mo2 versus other Chicago companies?
I can just speak why someone should rent from Motew is that, Michael and I are involved in every aspect of it. And, we're the owners of the company. We are reachable. We're more of a family style, type company, meaning that we have a full-time maintenance guy, we have a full-time leasing guy, but Michael and I look at maintenance emails.
We pick up the phone and we talk to people. We're generally, we understand that our renters are our clients, and we do everything we can to make sure that they're happy with where they live, they're safe and secure. I mean, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but one thing that we're experiencing now, and I guess it's related to trends in the market, is like all of a sudden neighborhoods that we've been in for 25 years, you're seeing, I don't know if it's a higher crime rate, but you were certainly finding out more about crime that's happening in these neighborhoods. Probably social media is a function of that, because I'm not saying there wasn't crime and there hasn't been crime in these areas for as long as we've been owning buildings. But now, you have apps like the Citizen app, you have Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I mean, all these things where anything happens, a dog gets lost, a purse gets stolen, carjacking, everybody knows about it immediately.
Is Chicago going through some growing pains? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I can speak for, not going into the growing pains, just speak for the fact that I can get lost in those, going on Twitter and then seeing, like you said, like those citizen apps and all that stuff and all the negativity, when the truth of the matter is, on a daily basis, if you don't watch that, you go to work, Chicago's a great city.
I remember just looking back years ago when we started noticing more of this sort of crime element, it was related primarily to people stealing packages. That was this huge
It's funny.
Like
Porch Pirates.
Porch Pirates. I mean, this was like I think today now, when we rehab our buildings or buy buildings, one of the first things we talk about is like, where are we putting cameras? And so now we put cameras up. We make sure, we try when we're able to put like gates up.
Kim Foxx announced today that she's not going to run for re-election, which I think is going to help.
I think people are always in the city of Chicago, probably everywhere. Transition always sort of halts sort of transaction volume because because there's so much uncertainty. There's now we're going to have a new mayor come May. So I think everyone's just sort of skittish about that. And I, again, I try to stay positive because maybe I'm naive. I know that all these politicians that come in, they have an agenda. I'm not sure how much of it they actually get done, but like one of the hot topics right now is like this mansion tax. What's going to happen when multifamily properties or any property sells for over $1 million, and he increases the transfer tax by an additional 1.75%,
which, by the way, we can give a real world example. We sold a building last year that if that would have been in place, we wouldn't have sold the building. It would have cost us $532,000 additional tax. And again, we would not have sold the building, which is going to happen to a lot of people if this thing comes to fruition.
One of the things that we keep talking about is like transaction volume. Like what's going to happen right now? We're already seeing it. There's not a lot of transactions that are happening in Chicago. You hear things like hedge funds and private equity groups, venture capitalists are holding on to their money and they're no longer interested in Chicago.
According to one of our investors who runs a very big retail company, he said that they aren't even looking in Chicago right now.
Yeah. So again, what does that do for us? I mean, we're insulated in some regard because we're a small shop. We have smaller type buildings. In neighborhoods. And like, again, like we have 800 units to fill. And we find that we typically, and we've been through, we've been through a lot of challenges. And throughout those challenges, we've stayed occupied in all our units.
Our typical MO is we buy a property, we feel undervalued, we rehab it, we re-rent it, and then we go to a bank and refinance it, and we minimally just try to pay off the loans we have on it, minimally. But what we've been able to do for years is pull out some of our equity and then reinvest in other buildings. That is not happening today.
Again, it's not the worst thing in the world to leave some money in the deal.
No, because it'll cash flow more.
And you have appreciation of the properties. We're in good neighborhoods. It's just our business model has changed a bit because of interest rates,
taxes,
because of the real estate taxes.
Another question on Instagram: why are taxes being raised substantially, and what is the impact it will have on renters?
There's two impacts. Taxes going up decrease your NOI. Okay, decreasing your NOI decreases the value of buildings. Payable in 2022, we paid $1.6 million in taxes. In 2023, for 2022 tax year, we paid $2.4 million. So $800,000 more. $800,000 more in taxes. So
and what changed on our buildings?
Nothing.
Yeah. So
I think absolutely. And look, Michael and I have debated about this too. When we talk about it, I don't think what Kaegi's trying to do is wrong. He's trying to make it so you know what your taxes are. The problem is it's not consistent. We have buildings with less income paying more taxes than buildings with more income significantly. So I don't think he's hit it. Again, I think the reality of it is if we had predictability in what your taxes were going to be, things would be a lot easier.
But the other thing that happens is, with that predictability and knowing that, let's just assume that real estate taxes are increasing because people are reporting honestly what their income is, and then there's some consistency over the board, sale prices should come down, right? So, but we're not seeing that. You see this increase in taxes by whatever percentage. You don't see a decrease in sale prices that matches that, and the same with interest rates. You see this incredible
1 year ago today,
increase in interest rates over a very short period of time.
1 year ago today,
hard to sustain.
Interest rates were like 3.5%.
Right. So we can, again, I think that sort of speaks to like if we were prepared, for that for that quick of an increase, you know, that would probably help with it. But the problem is it happened so fast. Nothing changed with us. We were still collecting the same amount of income from our tenants who were on 1 year, 2-year leases, whatever. So all of a sudden the interest rates went up. A loan comes due. We have the same income coming in, and now we're stuck with a building that maybe breaks even or you know, barely cash flows.
Well, I mean, for the first time, we've had to go to investors and say we need money to put into the buildings, in a couple of them. Not a lot, but a handful of buildings. And we have since we bought our first building 28 years ago, we have never once had to go to, after the initial equity raise, we've never once had to go to an investor and ask for more money.
We've seen the trend where, okay, we went from, you know, for the most part, on 100% of our projects, we were pulling out all of our money, if not
all
more
of our
than
initial
that.
equity, correct.
Yeah, all of our initial equity. Then we went to, okay, we're getting
Half of it.
We're getting half, or we're breaking even, or we're getting half. Now we're coming up with dollars on these, you know, on these refinances after stabilization.
Right. And so what does that mean? And Michael, you brought it up. It means that that the prices that you're going to be paying for buildings have to come down, or you're not going to be buying buildings. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, you know, construction costs are still high, interest rates high, taxes high.
What I enjoy probably most about my business is identifying and purchasing new properties, and then starting with a property that we get to hire an architect and come up with new designs for the apartments. We go in there and we rip everything out. We rip everything out to the bricks of the building and start new.
I will say for the first time ever since I started in this business that I'm a little concerned. I mean, we can even talk about the new project, you know, we're going to close on. I'm not concerned about that project.
Washtenaw?
Yeah, I'm not concerned about it, but, you know, we're talking about maybe condoing it. You know, we can get into that project at another date, but condoing it. And then I'm thinking, like, you know, I am worried about, are people really not going to buy here? Like, it segues a little into the mayor. I don't know enough about it. From everything I hear from people who know him, you know, obviously, there's a lot of posturing. You know, when he becomes mayor, you know, he can't go in there. And, you know, we all heard what he said about don't dehumanize these kids. And, you know,
Kenny's talking about like the recent
Wilding.
right.
in Grant Park.
And the reality is, like, when you have kids who gather as hundreds of them and they vandalize, like, that's not okay.
I mean, yes, that's definitely not okay. And I mean, whether it's kids, whether it's adults, doesn't matter what color you are. I don't care about any of that. The problem is that no matter who it is, we have to have the ability to control the mass of people that are coming out and looting. And what we know for sure today, and at least from everything we hear, you know, we don't have the police force to handle some of these situations because they're not sure what to do.
And they haven't been supported. I mean, look at it. Walmart's closing 4 stores all over the board, from Clark and Broadway to the West and South Side, because they're not making money because they're being robbed.
These are punishable crimes.
They're punishable crimes. And if you want to get to before they do something wrong, I agree with what Brandon Johnson's saying. You need to go into the neighborhoods. You need to have a father figure, a mother figure. You need to make, you know, safe places for these kids to go. You also need to make these kids feel that they don't have to join a gang, that it's okay to, you know, to be a good student, to be an athlete, to get a job.
There is a theory that, like, punish these people for what they're doing and they'll stop doing it. And so, like, if it goes unpunished, there's no
incentive to
there's no
stop.
checks and balances, and then nobody's going to stop doing what they're doing.
I look at it as common sense. I just look at common sense. To sum it up, we're heading into the rental season. From now until the end of August, it is rental season. And Michael and I, for our company, have 3 buildings that we are going to be completed in May, June, July, that are in the Logan Square, Palmer Square, Humboldt area, that are going to be very important to the future of this company.
How these buildings perform is going to be, in my opinion, a good indication on what this rental market's really like.
Yes.
Because we're bringing to market
in areas that aren't
over
West
40
Loop.
Units, I think.
Yeah, they're not West Loop, they're not Bucktown,
No,
they're not
they're
Wicker
not.
Park. They're areas that Michael and I believe, no, look, we're never the first people in, Michael and I say that, but we believe we went in there at a good time before everybody
We're also
was there.
offering a product that's not as common in
that
this
area.
type of neighborhood. And so we have these gut renovated units that have central heat
Big
and air,
bedrooms.
laundry, everything's brand new,
Thoughtfully
outdoor
designed.
space. We've discussed a lot of topics that are related to the real estate market, the city of Chicago, politics, real estate, safety stuff. One of the things that we want to bring to this podcast, and it's just because it's an interest of ours, and it also is a big part of our lives, is hockey. And youth hockey, junior hockey, professional hockey, and just sort of, our office is filled with people who have experience playing hockey growing up.
More than 75% of our office is here because of hockey. I mean, Cheryl, our first employee, I met Cheryl because her two kids, Keegan and Kane, played with Max, my oldest, and Cheryl has literally been our first employee.
And Keegan, her son, now works.
And Keegan works here.
With us.
Max works here.
Yeah.
Two coaches from the Mission work here. A coach at Winnetka works here.
Can you talk a little bit about how much you travel for hockey?
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, travel hasn't stopped since Max was 6 and he's 28. I have literally been doing 22 years of traveling to Detroit, Canada, and pretty much all over the country. Pittsburgh,
I just
Buffalo.
drove 20 hours to bring my son home from Saskatchewan, Canada, 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, it's good. 20 hours in barren wasteland, pretty much. Michael had to drive through.
And at any given time during the season, so Kenny has a son who plays in the OHL, which is a Canadian Major Junior League. I mean, they play 3-4 games a week. And then my son was playing in a Junior A league in Canada. Kenny's girlfriend's son plays in British Columbia in a Junior A hockey league. And we have various friends that we've met and hockey players over the course of both of our kids' careers that we follow. I mean, it's just like you come to our house and there's hockey TVs on, CHL TVs on, NHL's on.
My hockey TV. Oh, you say my hockey TV?
Yeah, hockey
investors?
TV.
You've gotten investors or partners through hockey?
It's actually that's
Yeah.
a great yes.
Yeah, we
actually,
actually
that's a very good point. I was sitting at Lake Forest Academy watching Simon, who's a birth year 03. Hockey's done by birth year, so he's a 2003 born player. He was playing against another kid. The dad was sitting next to me. We started talking. What do you do for a living? Blah, blah. He goes, oh, I want to invest. I'm like, everyone says that.
Yeah, he was away at one of his homes, and we needed a certain dollar amount wired for a property that he had never seen.
Never seen.
And he'd never done a deal with us.
And he calls me out of the blue and says, hey, where do you want me to wire the money? I'm like, no. We don't. That's not how it works. Like, we got to get it. We've got to go get a mortgage. He's like, okay, just let me know where to wire the money.
Potential controversial question from Instagram. Who is the best hockey player in the Mo2 family?
It's not I'm not answering that, and neither is Michael. Here's what I'll say about hockey. Hockey isn't just about how good you are, and Michael and I will talk about this. These kids, when they play junior hockey, and even before then, the amount of commitment they put into their sport, I mean, forget about the actual working out. When they go away to juniors, they have to live with people they don't know. They have to be comfortable living in that situation. They have to be comfortable, eating, food, working out, being in a foreign country.
We're impressed with the sacrifice, the dedication, and the time that we've watched not only our kids, but other people's kids put in to trying to achieve at the highest level of whatever they're doing. In this case, it's hockey. Some of these kids have achieved at higher levels than others. So that's, if you wanted to compare it that way, then you could look at one of the kids is playing in a major junior league, and that's the highest level anyone's played in this family. But here's something I'll say. Forget about our kids for a second, because I think what we bring some like levity to the situation of hockey is how insane we get at times following our kids play hockey, and the funny stories we have of watching our kids go through things that, first of all, we've never even experienced, which I think makes it most laughable, and how frustrated and how invested we get in it. And I mean, like how anxious it makes us. And in the end of the day, I think that's what's been really cool about the experience of watching our kids play and being involved in the hockey community is that we've also learned a lot about ourselves and in a lot of ways have calmed down a lot.
I was as crazy as anybody when my kids used to play. I mean, especially when they were younger. As you get older and you really realize, and Michael put it on the head, that I don't have any control. I mean, I could give my suggestions, my opinions, what he should work on, what he shouldn't. But at the end of the day, these kids are young men. I mean, Simon's 20 years old, Ben's 18.
To come to the realization that they're doing the best they can, and they're actually putting forth an effort that is their best effort, almost, all the time.
Well, you
It's
always
like-
say they're doing the best they can. Can they do any better? They would. You know. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like,
they
well, let's
would.
put it this way: they're not trying not to do good,
Right,
So
right.
it's like they're always trying, but like any parent, like you become completely invested in it, and then you live vicariously. All those cliches that you
I got a
hear.
question for you. Okay, what is after a game you talk to your child?
Yeah.
And he says something. What is the one thing that pisses you off that he says?
I don't like when, yeah, now I'm going to sound like an asshole, but I don't like when my kid, if he's going to talk about his game or what happened, I want him to talk about his game and not make excuses for anything else.
Be prepared for the game. Don't make excuses. Don't tell me you're tired. Don't tell me you didn't do this or this, because that's your job. And so what I've learned, for the help of my other kids, to be honest with you, and a good friend of mine years ago, is that sometimes, and it's very hard for me, we just have to listen. And that becomes very hard. Like sometimes they don't want to hear what we have to say.
Oh, no, I would say more than sometimes. Well, here's what I realize now, like, and maybe sometimes they want our opinion, but one, we're not the coach. And two, I always look at, I've never played at the level that these kids are playing at. Like,
No.
in the end of the day, my opinion doesn't mean much. Like you said, my job is to listen to them and support them. It really just brings a lot of joy into our lives.
Yes.
And I think even within our company at Motew, like, I think people just enjoy sort of having this like little world of hockey that exists within the company that everyone could be a part of. We've had employees come and watch games. Every time Kenny and I leave town, we come back, everyone asks how it went. They sort of can gauge by our mood. We're really excited to get these podcasts going, but we do, I mean, our plan is to bring in monthly guests at least.
We're thinking about having, a banker in, a mortgage broker, like someone from an investment sales team, like
A real estate broker.
a real estate broker,
People from our office.
people from our office,
Hockey
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, people can send in their questions on Instagram. I want to say
You guys want to see so and let us know, but I mean,
Yeah.
in general, we'll have guests that are related to the real estate
Bricks or sticks.
field or hockey in some way.
And we are open to sponsors. People can email us, Mo2 Brothers Podcast at gmail.com if they want to become a sponsor.
Yeah, it'd be great. Thanks for listening to our podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple,
And wherever you find podcasts.
or wherever you find
Bricks and sticks.
Bricks and sticks.